por fin, we seize the time, free at last. Learn to love, live to fight, not just for me, but for others. Teach the new blood and live for freedom. I survived the COINTELPRO assassinations, AIDS epidemic, crack era fractured the nation. The interpretation of American democracy is best exemplified in its foreign policy dichotomy. I live a double life of political philosophy, but revolution follows me to struggle for equality against the morally bankrupt, claiming to be born again. It's a civil war again, like MS-13's origin. Ban ethnic studies claiming our culture will swallow them, but you can't conquer people and build a country on top of them, and then feel offended that they breathe the same oxygen. Your family values lack the wisdom of Solomon, but Operation Condor and Operation Bootstrap are poli-sci.
Shalom Yasharala. I want to start off by giving Call Halal Yhwhshi by Shem HaMashiach Yhwhshi. That's all honor, all praises, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh, and we do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. I'm here with powerful brother from Massachusetts. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Khan, Battle Axe Para, Sakari, Boston.
Khan. So I know I got a couple of videos on the law. This is gonna might be the last one that I do. I'm not too sure about it, but this is gonna be the verses that Christians tend to use against the law. Well, I don't want to say Christians, the modern church against the law. And so I'm going to show you how to break them down correctly and what they really mean. All right, so time's limited, so we're going to get right into it.
Let's get into it.
All right, let's go to, I got to present my screen. Bam. Salah, excuse me. Grab me, Baba Kasha, Matthew 5 and 17.
Matthew 5 and 17. It says, Matthew 5 and 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
So what they tend to do is, this is one of, as an Israelite, as you know, me and the brother were Israelites, we go to this verse a lot to prove the law. But many times you're going to see them take it and they harp on the but to fulfill part. And they'll tell you that he came, he was blameless, he was sinless. Since he did it, we don't have to do it anymore. All right, so they're trying to say that he fulfilled everything. All right, but when we go to, what we have to understand is that not all the prophecies are fulfilled. You see, he didn't come to destroy the prophets. There's still prophecies in the Old Testament that still need to be come to pass. Right. Grab Baba Kasha, Numbers 24 and 17.
NLT?
Not regular.
Okay. Numbers 24 and 17.
And I got it here if you need it. I'm here.
Con. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth.
Chef.
Shocking.
No, you're good. So when did the Messiah? Because even a Christian, even the modern church would understand. You know, Christian, Catholic, Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, the whole gang of misinterpreters, right? People that misinterpret the scriptures. But when did the Messiah come and destroy Moab? Or Sheth? He hasn't. So he didn't. So not everything is being fulfilled because that's his job to do it. Is to
Con,
destroy Moab and to destroy Sheth, but it still hasn't been done yet.
con.
So don't let them take that one out of context. Always just let them. So most of the times they're digging their own hole by misinterpreting scriptures, right? And but to fulfill actually has a different meaning to it. It has a more specific meaning. Let's go to Acts 3:18.
The
Right?
book of Acts, chapter 3 and verse 18. It reads, but those things which God before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets that Christ should suffer, he hath so fulfilled.
So the fulfilling portion of that previous verse of Matthew 5:17, it was the sacrifice. Now, I can go through a bunch of precepts showing about the vinegar, stabbing on the sides, the whole everything he had to go through. But it tells you right here, he fulfilled it. That's done. That's the beginning of the New Testament, of the New Covenant to come. The New Covenant that is coming. He did what he had to do. It was fulfilled, right? It's not that he fulfilled all of the Mosaic law perfectly, and now we don't have to do it. It's not that.
It's the
Don't
suffering part.
don't. Salaki, say it again.
This is the suffering part that he
Khan,
fulfilled.
Khan, exactly. So don't let them tell you that, guys. We're gonna move over to the next one. The next example is Mark 7:5.
The book of St. Mark, chapter 7 and verse 5.
Salaki, give me 1 second, bro.
Con.
Salaki. Are we ready?
You want it in the NLT?
Nah, let's go like that.
Con. All right. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why walk not thy disciples according to the traditions of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands?
Right. So let me just cut you off real quick. So this is just like when you for the people that don't know the Bible, the way Bible readers know it, for newcomers. Um, the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. A couple times they'll say the same event, right? So this is one of those times. In this times, the Pharisees and the scribes, the elders of the church, were pushing traditions of men, right? Like things that are not found in the Torah. They were trying to push that and say that that's sin. Continue.
He
Oh,
answered, that was the end. You want me to go into 6?
yeah. Keep reading. I'll tell you when.
He answered and said unto them, well, have Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites? As it is written, this people honored him, Salakia, this people honored me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
1 second. So Yhwhshi, who the world calls Jesus, he's scolding the Pharisees because they were adding to and taking away from the law. The big part of the big problem, the biggest part of the problem with the Pharisees is that they were adding to the law and taking away from the law. They were saying things you had to wash your hands, before you eat. I recommend you do it, right? We don't want to be nasty, but to say you're sinning for not doing it, that's not it. And then they were taking away from the law. They were trying to take away from his title, his role, and his duty of the Messiah. They for whatever reason, and so that's their biggest problem. Let's jump over to we're gonna come back to Mark, but let's jump over to Deuteronomy 4:2, just to show that the severity of what they were trying to do.
Come on. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 2. It says, ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you.
You see, so in the Torah, so let's say you're an OT only and you only follow the quote unquote Old Testament. This is a law telling that you can't add to the law, you can't take away from the law. When they tell you that you can't drink no alcohol at all, that's adding to the law.
God.
When they tell you have certain Israelite camps that say you can't lay with your wife on the Sabbath, they're adding to the law. Maybe a good idea to do it, to maybe abstain from it a little bit, just maybe go on a little fast between you two, but doesn't mean it's a sin to do it, right? Let's go over to let's see, Matthew 23:4, because we're gonna show what they were doing, like by then adding and taking away, they were making things a whole lot tougher for us.
God. So this is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on shoulders, Slakia, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them from one of their fingers.
So they're excuse me, they're binding heavy burdens. They're adding to the law, because we know as Bible readers and self-proclaimed Bible scholars that the law is easy to do. It's not grievous, especially if you have love in your heart for your people and love in your heart for the Most High.
That's right.
So keeping the commandments are easy, but they're putting things that are really, really tough. So the same way that the modern church does that today, the Pharisees were doing it back in the day. You'll see a lot of them calling us Pharisees and us scribes. But when you look at the mannerisms of the way the Pharisees move and the way the modern church moves today, I mean, it's them, right? It's not us. Let's go back to Mark 7:7. No, for sure.
It's the book of St. Mark, chapter 7 verse 7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
Continue.
For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition.
That's it right there.
God.
Right. So again, so they were adding things. Yhwhshi came. He checked it real quick, whether they took it or not. Yeah, Yhwhshi, who the world calls Jesus, had to put him in the place. The same way we have to do it today. Not just us, whoever's watching this, whoever's learning from me. Don't let them take things out of context. Don't let them add to the word. We already have to not eat certain things, and we don't want them tripping us up even more.
That's right.
So let's go. I was gonna go all the way to 16, but we could just skip that. Let's go to Acts 15 and 10.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 15 and verse 10. Now therefore, why tempt ye God to put a yoke upon the necks of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear?
Stop right there. So a lot of Christians, they're gonna tell you. I keep saying Christians. I want to group them all together, right? So the modern churches, quote unquote,
God.
they'll use this verse and they'll tell you, like, oh, why are you trying to make me under the Mosaic law when nobody's able to bear it, right? For we know that's not true, right? If we go to 1 John 5:3, it tells, because they make it seem harder than it really is. One, not all the laws are applicable to everybody. Some are for a specific time. Some are for some are for a specific time. Some are judgments. Some are how to eat things, what to eat. It's different things. It's not that tough.
Con.
1 John 5:3, Baba Kasha.
Hold on. Salakia. This is the book of First John, chapter 5 and verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
So we have a powerful, powerful brother, right? And an elder in the church, right? Saying that it's not hard. It's not hard. And you know what? And if it is hard to begin with, it's a process. Like the same way, like us teaching people in the street, we're not gonna go overwhelm them. They're being converted in. It's a process. It's progress, right? We,
Right.
we have to be long suffering with our people.
Right.
Same way YHWH was long suffering with us. He gave us grace. It's a marathon, not a race. But
That's
if you
right.
stay stagnant and you stay in place and say, "Oh, no, that's too hard for me. I don't want to move," you're gonna get left behind. You're an anchor. You're an anchor to Yasharala. You're an anchor to Israel. And the Most High, He says that if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off, and
Right.
He will cut you off for the good of the nation. So little by little, the same way we're gonna show you love, we're gonna show you grace. Yahweh is gonna show grace. The Most High is gonna show grace, but you have to show a little bit of effort. It's not hard.
Right.
Let's go to Deuteronomy 30:11 in the NLT. I got it on the screen if you need it, bro.
Con. No, I was waiting for that. Con. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and 11. This command I am giving you today is not too difficult for you to understand, and it is not beyond your reach.
Man, if we were in the streets, I'll have you read it again. Right? It's easy, bro. Like he's not gonna. The Most High is not gonna have us do something that we can't do.
That's right.
He's gonna give us something that we need to obviously give a little bit of effort. But if the spirit of the because he's giving you a spirit to follow him. When he gives you that spirit, he winds you up, and you're gonna go towards him. To be honest, if it's too hard for you, and it's probably he didn't give you what you needed, you'll get it the next round. You'll come around again, and you'll get it. But be fearful, because if he did put it in you, you get it's like if he put the spirit in you, move forward.
Pause.
Do it.
Con.
You caught that, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's go to Matthew 23:2 KJV.
This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 2. Saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
This is the point right here. And, right.
Keep on. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
You see, that sounds exactly how it said in Mark. So he's telling us right here in Matthew 20 verse 3, Salakia. He's telling us to do whatever they do. I mean, do whatever they say, don't do what they do. And then in verse 4, he's saying, because they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne. So if you have multiple verses saying that the law is not grievous, it's not difficult, and then you have the Pharisees putting extra stuff on it, that's being burdened. That's the yoke. The traditions of men, the culture, the customs of men. That's the
Right.
yoke, not the law. The law is perfect, converts the soul.
Right.
Right, like I said in my last video. Um, let's go over to yeah. So don't ever let them tell you that the law, the Mosaic law, the law of God, is a yoke. In Acts 15 and 10. Right, they'll just change it up on them, flip it up on them. They won't even know what to say, to be honest. Stay in the same chapter, Acts 15, but let's go to verse 19 from the last verse I was talking about.
So you want Acts 15 and 19, right?
15 and 19, yeah.
Con.
Because remember, these are verses that the modern church uses to go against the law. Right. So the last verse was Acts 15 and 10. This next one's going to be 15 and 19.
Con. Acts verse 15 and verse 19. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to God.
Right. So this is literally. So they'll say that this, since like even us, we were Gentiles at one point, we were proselytes at one point, we were converting at one point. Um. So they're saying that this is saying that we don't have to keep none of the commandments, and if we do have to keep some of the commandments, it's just the moral section of the commandments. Right. Read.
But that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood.
Right. So this is James, the elder in the church, giving a little starter packet, law starter packet. Like we said earlier, because we have grace with long suffering for our people, it might not be too easy to make that adjustment. It's like a person on drugs, right? Like they you go through withdrawals. We've been in the world, so some things are harder to get rid of. It's not really hard for us to do the commandments. It's harder for us to let go of the world since it was attached to us for so long.
Right.
So he gave us a little starter packet. While we're going through our worldly withdrawals, so to speak, for lack of a better term. So let's go to Matthew 22 and 37.
God.
Because if those four, because a lot of they'll go to that verse and they'll say that those four are the only things that we have to keep, right? But where are the two greatest commandments? Right, that's not included in those four. You know, read whenever you're ready.
God. The book of St. Matthew, chapter 22 and verse 37. You want to go all the way to 40 or
Go to 39
up to 39?
after the reading. You know what? You can go to 40. Go to 40.
God. Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Right. So they'll say that these are like new laws that we have to keep, right? Because first of all, in that previous verse, the one that they use, these aren't even in there, right? But again, they'll find a way to finagle. They'll say all you have to do is keep those four, and then it says these two, and you just keep adding. He's got to keep showing the law in the quote unquote New Testament, right? But this law that Yhwhshi is saying right now is actually in the Mosaic law. Let's
That's
go to
right.
Deuteronomy 6 and 4.
That's right. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Salakia is one Lord. And thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
Right. So that's the Shema prayer. The first one of the first the two greatest commandments that the YHWH said was literally the Shema prayer. Well, half of it was a Shema prayer. Right. So why, if he's continuing to quote it, if he's continuing to use it to just to validate his words and his teachings, it's mandatory, it's necessary. And if it isn't, I know it's mandatory, but let's say it isn't mandatory, it helps, because it's the law is so perfect that it makes the simple wise. Why wouldn't you want to do it? You know. Let's go back to actually let's go to Deuteronomy 12 and 23. Right now, I want to show these commandments, the four commandments starter packet that they gave him, actually being in the Torah, in the law. Right. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse
23.
23.
God. Only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh.
Right. So one of them was to eat things um, uh, from blood, without blood. Eating, you know how this world loves. You got Moab over there eating squids alive. Talking about the ink.
Sponges.
It ain't even blood. It's like ink in there. You know what I mean?
That's
They
nasty.
they there's something different, right? You
Nasty.
have you have who's that dude? Yeah, he's famous. The Liver King. Right? I don't even know if I should be saying names. I don't know if I get flagged, but he's eating livers raw. Right? The Mosai says don't do that. And this isn't even, and that's not even a law for just for Israelites. That's a universal law. That's a law that everybody has to keep. If you have a heathen, they're eating pork, it's not really a sin for them. But if you have a heathen and they're over here eating livers raw, that's a sin,
God.
right? There's different laws for different people. Their laws ain't they're not that much. It's very simple, but they can't even keep those. He gave us these laws to perfect us and make us holy unto these nations. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 14 and 21. Baba Kasha.
God. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14 and verse 21. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it to thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it, or
Mm-hmm.
or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see
See,
for
that's like boil,
kid in his mother's milk.
right? So that first portion, the first section of the verse, it's the strangling, right? Because it's whatever is you have to be the one. If you're gonna eat an animal, you have to be the one to kill it, drain it, do all that. If you find it on itself, if you kill it cruelly, if you're not draining the blood again, if it dies on its own, that's eating something that's strangled, right? And that's what they're quoting. They're quoting the dietary law.
Come
Right, let's go to Exodus 34 and 15.
15.
Con.
So it's Exodus 34 and 15. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and go they with a whoring after their gods, and do sacrifices unto their gods. and one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice.
right? So that's idols. It's examples of idols and how he doesn't want us to have idols. And eating things sacrificed to idols. He doesn't want that from us. Excuse me. Um, and then you have the fornication. That's pretty mentioned in the four starter packet um laws. The whole chapter of Leviticus 18. We're not even gonna go there. But if you just read Leviticus 18, it's nothing but talking about fornication. You know what? We'll read a verse actually. Leviticus 18. Go to read 6.
Con.
This is an example of fornication.
Book of Leviticus, chapter 18 and verse 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord.
Incest, which is because fornication is it's not just one thing. It's a bunch of things. It's homosexuality. It's incest, like we just read. Um, Adultery. It's a bunch of stuff. It's sexual immorality, right? So
Con.
everything he's saying, everything that was given to the proselytes in that verse, Acts 15 and it was 19, that's in the Mosaic Law. But they say that just because it's 4 of them, you don't have to keep the rest of them. That's ridiculous. It's like you have a job, bro. You have a job. You learn a bunch of different things. Then they come in, like a boss comes in, and he harps on 2 different things. You have to forget the rest of the things that you taught. That's your duty. Just because he harped on 2, no. Or if he goes, or he has you training somebody else. He says, "Oh, show Jose how to paint and how to mold." Right? If they're painters, but there's other things you have to do. Just because he's showing him those 2 things, doesn't mean that everything else doesn't have to be done or learned. Right? So just use common sense. Don't let these people trick you into being as wicked as they are, as weak as they are. All right. Let's go to. Let's finish this one off. Let's go to Acts 15 and 21.
Acts 15
And 21.
and 21.
Because everything that I'm saying right now gets clarified literally in the next verse.
Con. The book of Acts, chapter 15 and verse 21. For Moses of old time have in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day.
Bam. So they're saying that every Sabbath, people were going to him and learning. Because Moses he got it directly, right?
Con.
It would have been to all Israel, but we were scared, right? We ran off. He was the only one that stood back. We sent him up there to go learning, and then every Sabbath we would go and we would learn it from
Con.
him, because we were too scared to hear from the Most High or from the angel, right?
Con.
Let's go over to Romans 3 and 20.
Con. This is the book of Romans, the letter to the Romans, chapter 3, verse 20. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin.
So they take that, right? They take that and they say, "Oh, you can't be justified by the law," right? That's what is it? Corrupting the scriptures, That's. I know it may like off rip. We just read it. It would be like, damn, like you don't have to keep the law, and it may, like I can see where they mess up. But since they harp on one verse for so long, they forget the rest of the Bibles. They forget the rest of the chapter, right? Just and you gotta understand around that time they were trying to separate the law from faith. Faith and law, they were trying to separate. But we know people that study the Bible, that harmonize it, that read. It's a package deal, right? Let's go over to Romans 2:13. Because right here we have Paul saying that the law doesn't justify you, right? But let's see what he says in Romans 2:13. Right?
2:13.
God,
It says, "For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified."
didn't he just say that the law doesn't? We're not justified by the law.
Con,
You see what I mean?
con,
So you have to read it in context. You have to understand everything. This gets said multiple times through the Bible. There's two witnesses saying the same thing. The hearers of the word. James says it as well, right? What's the other verse? Yeah, James says it, but he's not. Paul's not contradicting himself. That's why Peter says he's hard to understand.
right,
Like I'm not the best speaker in the world, right? I might say some things that mess people up, but you need two witnesses. You need somebody else to back up what I'm saying, or if something I'm saying just doesn't make sense, you study yourself.
right.
I'm gonna give you everything you need because I'm definitely not a rapper, right? I'm not a poet. I'm not a call that inspirational speaker. I don't have that.
A motivational speaker.
You see what I'm saying? I'm not a motivational speaker. So you
Same
study.
difference.
I give you the little bit of seeds, and you take it and you study it for yourself,
Con.
right? But we're gonna go to Romans 9:32
Con.
because the problem was it was the law. They were separating the law and they were separating faith because faith is what justifies you, but then you prove faith with the law. It's a package deal. It all goes together. Does a whole 360.
So you want Romans, the letter to the
Oh,
Romans, chapter
Salakia, yeah,
9 and 32?
32. Come.
Uh, I'll wait for you to put it on the screen. It says, "Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law, for they stumbled at the stumbling stone."
Who's the stumbling stone? Bro, you know who the stumbling stone is?
The stumbling stone would be
Mm-hmm. Salaki.
actually, yeah.
It's Yhwhshi. Yes,
uh
it's
like
Yhwhshi because Yhwhshi is the stone that the builders rejected. Right? Let's get that right now. Actually,
Con. Oh yeah, if you go into the next verse, if I would have read the next verse, I would have
oh,
got it.
Khan, go ahead.
It says that it is written, "Behold, I lay in Sion a stumbling stone and a rock of offense, and whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed." Wait, that's Yahweh.
You see how that works? Look at this. Where's it at? Let's go to. I'm going off topic. I'm going on a rant right now, but we're gonna learn this right now.
It's full circle.
Psalms 118 and 22. Right.
Psalms 118 and verse 22.
118 and
Oh,
22.
con
22 to 23.
22 and 23. The stone which the builders refuse is become the head of the stone, become the headstone of the corner. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. Keep going.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Come on.
This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. It
You see
reads,
that?
mhm,
And then I'm trying to find the other verse where it tells you that Yahweh was a stone. Because we know in the statue of Daniel, the stone that destroys the whole statue that hits the feet is Yahweh. But this one thing, that's what I get for going off topic.
hmm,
But you go through a spirit, right? You can't.
God.
You gotta go through. What's that verse? You know what? I'll do it. I'm gonna do a lesson on that later. But because I think it's like in Peter's, it says that he's literally the stone. But we
Uh,
know, right? Because if we look at the stone which the builders refuse, has
first,
become the headstone of the corner.
First Peter's chapter 2,
Is that it?
I believe so. Chapter
All praises.
First Peter chapter 2, 7 and 8.
Oh, see, that's why it's good to have a reader, an assistant. So lucky.
That's the one, right? Come on.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
We see Peter.
Says, you want me to read it for you?
I got it.
Yep.
There's First Peter chapter 2, verse 7. Unto you, therefore, which believe, he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed,
Mm-hmm.
the same is made the head of the corner.
What's
Here it
Peter
is.
talking about? He's talking about the one that's precious, the one that they were disobedient to, the one that they were trying to separate. You know.
Come on. And it goes more into it right here in 8. And the stone of stumbling, which again goes with the rest of the book,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it harmonizes. And a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. That's
Damn.
good.
See that? So let's go back to the verse the verse on the that we're trying to clarify. Romans 3:21. So we're gonna continue
Come on,
that line of logic, I guess.
come on. 3:21. It says, but now the righteousness of God without the law is manifest, being witnessed by the law and the prophets.
You need both.
God.
Read.
Even the righteousness of God, which is by faith of Jesus Christ, unto all and upon all them that believe. For there is no difference.
For there is no difference. They were trying to split the law and faith, but there's no difference because they go together. They're both needed for one another. You can't have faith if you can't prove it. You have Abraham. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his kid. He was proving it. You have to prove your faith. You have to prove your love. You can't just say things. The
God.
law. You can't have the law if you don't have faith. Because if you don't believe in the reward, like I got in the last video talking about survival, like we choose survivability over over the law, right? If we try to do the law, we don't believe there's a reward after. If it's for a reason, we don't have faith in it, then we're gonna fall. We need to have faith in the law, and Yhwhshi is the law, right?
That's right.
Let's see. Let's go over to. We're gonna end this section on this one. It's gonna be Matthew 23 and 23. Go back to Matthew 23. Yeah, go back to Matthew 23, but verse 23. It's a
Full
lot.
circle. A book of St. Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anson and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone.
So what's a weightier matter of the law? Is faith. You see what I mean? Like this, that's why they were messing up. That's why the Pharisees they thought they were high and mighty. They were talking about those the scriptures all the time, but they didn't have what was important. They didn't have that final piece.
Con,
You know, they were holier than thou type of people. They thought they were better than everyone else, but they lacked the core values of the law, right? Which is judgment, mercy, and faith.
con.
Right? So don't ever let them tell you that when it says that you can't be justified by the law, because Paul says you can be justified by the law in one verse, and then he says you can in another. But when he said it that you couldn't be justified by the law, he was only saying it is because they were trying to negate faith. So don't ever let them tell you that you don't have to keep the law. All right, let's go over to Romans 10 and 4.
The letter to the Romans, chapter 10 and verse 4. It reads, For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes.
It's pretty cool, right? That's it. We don't have to keep the law anymore. That's it. But you got to understand that Yhwhshi kept the law, right? He kept the law so like in its totality, the ones that apply to him, obviously, because he doesn't have that the monthly, menstrual cycle. He kept the laws that apply to him, so he can be a lamb without blemish, to be the
Right,
ultimate sacrifice for us.
right,
The Most High got tired of our sacrifices because just like in Job, remember Job's kids were upstairs celebrating birthdays,
right,
and he had sacrifices already lined up, ready, because he knows that they do that every year. The Most High got tired of it. YHWH, who the world calls Jesus, kept all the laws, so he had no blemish. He was sinless. His sacrifice, his martyrdom,
that's
I don't
right.
know if that's a word, but him being a martyr was perfect. Right? Let's go over to Romans 10 and 4. I know I said the NLT, but let's go to the NIV. I'm going to pull it out here if you don't have it.
Just I'll read it off the screen. Romans 10 and 4 in the NIV. Christ is the
Culmination.
culmination of the law so that there may be righteousness for everyone who believes.
He's the culmination. Let's see what the word culmination means. Right?
Culmination.
Look, it says the highest or climatic point of something, especially as attained for after a long time.
Sheesh.
He's a culmination. He kept everything. He's the peak of the law.
Con,
Because remember, he's. I'll give you an example, like Zechariah's mother and father and mother, whatever you want to say. They kept the law to the T, but there was one law that they couldn't keep, and that was having faith in Yahweh and listening to what he says. Why? Because he wasn't born yet. They kept everything. They weren't not blameless, but there was an extra law that they couldn't keep because Yahweh wasn't born yet. He's the peak. He's the top hegemony. Like before that, nobody could keep the totality of the law. They can keep all that applied to them at the time,
right,
but they couldn't keep the ones that had to do with Yahweh because he wasn't there. He's the culmination. He's the peak.
right.
All right. I hope y'all understand that. So that's all that verse is saying. They'll tell you that he
So,
did it
okay,
so that we don't have to do. He's the end of the law.
so
No,
like a quick statement, because he wasn't born yet at that time, it wasn't a sin to them because there was no way for them to
it's
believe.
only a it's only a sin if you don't do it.
Right,
Like
right,
it's like the sin of I mean the law of how to deal with the leper, right? If there's no lepers near you, and you it means you don't have to do that.
Right.
So you're not breaking it, but you're not doing it. You're just doing whatever applies to you, whatever is
Applies at the time.
whatever's applicable. Exactly.
Applicable. Right.
Look what the NLT says. For Christ has already accomplished the purpose of for which the law was given. As a result, all who believe, because he was made the righteous Lamb. He was because he kept the law. Now since we believe in him and he's born now, and he's there to bring in the new covenant, the new covenant. Which when he comes, he's gonna finalize it. Seventh trumpet, bam, we in there. You know. So let's go over to Romans 14 and 4. 14 and 14. In the KJV.
Come on. I This is the letter to the Romans, chapter 14 and verse 14. I know and am persuaded by the Lord Jesus that there is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteemed anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean.
So they say, since they pray over it, since they don't see pork and shrimp, crab, lobster as unclean, now they can eat it. So they take this verse, which is it's pretty hard to understand if you just read it at face value, right? But this whole context is talking about vegetarians because we had different we had different sects of Jews, of Israelites, right? We had the Pharisees. That's the most popular one. We had the Zealots, the Sadducees, the Scribes, and the Essenes. The Essenes were vegetarians. So he's arguing or he's arguing with them, with the Essenes. So when he's talking about, because we say that pork is unclean, they say meat is unclean. So what he's saying here is that was this and persuaded by Jesus that there is nothing unclean of itself. So he's not talking about unclean meats. He's talking about the clean meats, because they're trying to say that the clean meats, because it's meat, is unclean. But we're gonna prove that right now, because it's confusing as hell. I was tripping over my tongue trying to say. All right, let's go to verse 2. Same chapter, verse 2.
Come on. It reads, for one believeth that he may eat all things, another who is weak eateth herbs.
Herbs, right? Because there's one that's weak in the faith. They believe that let's see, him that is weak in exactly look, verse 1. Him that is weak in the faith receive ye, but not to doubtful disputations. So he's saying whoever is weak, like the Essenes, you can still bring them in. Don't argue with them, right? For one believeth that he may eat all things, and another who is weak, that's the point of the context, eateth herbs. So the vegetarians think that, just like today, you have vegans going crazy on people because, oh, you're animal killer. How can you eat something with a face? That's them niggas. That's them in the past. They were in the back in the past trying to make us feel bad for eating lamb, for roasting lamb. You know what I mean? But Paul had to come in with his weird ass words, how he always is, but he corrected them. All right. Let's go to. Let's jump over to verse 17.
Come on. Romans 14 and 17. It reads, for the kingdom of God is not meat and drink, but righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Ghost.
You see what that is? So he's saying, bro, it's not about what we're eating. As long as it's lawful, it's not about what we're eating. If you want to eat herbs, you can eat herbs. But the righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Ghost, that's the kingdom of God.
Right.
Because it starts from within, right? That's because when Yhwhshi said it's not what goes into a man, it's what cometh out. Excuse me. What cometh out. is righteousness, and we know the law is righteous, right? So we gotta, just be careful with these verses. Be careful with the scriptures. Don't let them take things out of context and trip you up because they might look a certain way. But sometimes all you gotta do is read a little bit before, a little bit after, and everything will come to light. You know. Let's go to them because because the original verse says nothing is unclean of itself. So when they take that and they say that it's for that you can eat pork now and all that stuff, let's go to Second Corinthians 6 and 17. Baba Kasha.
All right. Second Corinthians.
Second Corinthians. But I can't really hear you, bro.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now okay, now okay.
All right. Second Corinthians 6 and 17. It reads, "Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you."
Bro, this is years. This is after the crucifixion. It's still saying don't touch unclean things.
Right.
So it's still a thing. It hasn't gone away. It's just for sometimes we have lack of a better word. So he'll say things like unclean, nothing is unclean of itself. Sometimes he just doesn't you don't got a better phrase to put it in. You see me right here, I'm always looking off into space, trying to figure out what to say. Some people just don't know how to put it in terms, in layman's terms, put it smoothly. Some people just not well with their words. Paul was one of those brothers. Right? Let's go to actually that does that. That's it right there. So remember the scenes in Romans 14:14. He's talking to the Essenes. They were like the monks. They were those people that is holier than thou and their shit don't stink type of people. Don't focus on them, right? But keep the law. If you want to be a vegetarian, be a vegetarian. But on Passover time, you're not gonna be
You
able
got
to.
you got to eat that lamb.
You're gonna have to eat that lamb in the Passover.
Uh,
I mean, we got vegetarians and vegans in our camp.
Con.
Once a year, they eat lamb.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? And they be healthy. They do their thing.
It,
We have pescatarians.
like there's a boundary. Like you can be the vegetarian vegan, just don't be like that worshiping type. Like like you're worshiping
Mm,
these animals. No, you're doing it for your health reasons or whatever other reasons. But when it's time to keep the laws of God, that's what needs to be done.
exactly. Yeah, you don't wanna, like you said, you don't wanna worship the animals.
Right.
Like see, the animals are given unto Adam. You know what I'm saying? So don't be worshiping these animals. They are mad adorable and shit. I get what they're talking about, but they're made for our consumption for our food. You know.
Con.
Let's go to James chapter 2 verse 10. Baba Kasha.
Con. So we got James chapter 2 verse 10. It says, "For whosoever keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all."
So this is one of their favorites, and I'm not gonna lie. For a long time, I didn't know how to do it. Right, but this is talking about that they're making it seem like you break one law, you break them all. All they're trying to say all laws, all sins have the same hold the same weight. They don't. There's different ones that some are a slap on the wrist, some are death, right? Some you can pray for, some you can't, right? Let's go to actually read verse 11.
Con. "For he that said, Do not commit adultery, also said, Do not kill. Now if thou commit no adultery, Yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgression of the law.
So they're saying, look, oh, if you commit adultery, if you don't commit adultery but you kill, you're a transgress. Yes, you're a transgressor of the law. They're making it more than it really is. Transgressor of the law because he killed. Of course, he's a transgressor. If I steal something but I keep the rest of the law, I'm still a transgressor of the law. Doesn't mean I break all the laws. I'm just breaking the law. I'm not breaking all of the laws. I'm breaking a law. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you, bro?
Right. So like let's say, you know, just for the educational purposes, uh if you jaywalk
Mm-hmm.
but you put on your seatbelt, it's basically like that. You break the
Yeah,
law by jaywalking, you broke that law, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna get a ticket for not for wearing a seatbelt because you jaywalk.
bro,
It doesn't.
bro. Salaki, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, that was pretty. I landed the
Yeah,
plane there.
yeah. If anybody has ever got, you can't even get a ticket for jaywalking, right? You can get in trouble, but bro, I don't
But
think
that's why
anybody's
I
ever.
use that. That's why I use that.
Like, now that you say that, bro, they may get honked at. They may get the
Right,
flashing lights, like get the fuck,
right.
you
Because
know.
that is a law. If you think about it, you're supposed.
Technically,
But people break those all the time. You know what I mean?
right?
They're transgressing the law. I'm not saying go again. This is just like a metaphor,
No,
saying not saying that we should break any of the Most High's laws. I'm
bro.
just
So
saying
what? So what you're telling me is if I jaywalk, that's the same as grand larceny.
exactly, exactly.
Bro,
And that's how they try to make this. Now going back to what you just taught, that's what they was trying to say.
bro, look at what it says. If you just really just read it, it says now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. They just take it and they hyperinflate it, and then they make it
Right.
what it's not, bro. They're Pharisees. They're
Right.
holier than thou. The modern church are Pharisees.
Gone. Gone.
Keep reading though.
Gone. So we are at 12. So speak ye, and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty.
The law of liberty is grace, and we all need it at some point. But we're talking about the jaywalking. You jaywalk, and then the cop is like, "Yo, what are you doing?" That's grace. He can take you in. He's gonna probably get laughed at by his friend, by his coworkers,
Gone.
but that's grace.
Gone.
If you when the light's yellow and you just continue to go through it, and it's kind of red, kind of thing, it's kind of halfway. He sees you, he lets you go. That's grace. The law of liberty is grace. Continue.
Gone. For he shall have judgment without mercy, that have showed no mercy, and mercy rejoice against judgment.
So and if we don't think about it, if we don't have mercy on others for breaking them, we're not gonna get mercy. That's what he's trying to talk about. He's talking to people that are holier than thou. So he's trying to say, oh, so what he's trying to say right now is he needed, not he needed mercy. Well, I mean technically he did. Everyone needs mercy at one point. Um, but if you want mercy, you have to give mercy.
Gone.
That's the best way to put it,
Gone.
right? But they'll tell you this that first one, right? This one right here, that verse 10 is where they get everyone confused, right? Let's show that not all sin carries the same weight. Move on. Let's go to First John 5:16.
First John 5:16. It reads, if any man see his brother sin, a sin which is not unto death, he shall ask, and he shall give him life for them that sin not unto death. There is a sin unto death. I do not say that he would. Slakia. I do not say that he shall pray for it. All unrighteousness is sin, and there is a sin not unto death.
But according to them, one sin is all sin, so all sin is worthy of death. But right here, he's saying there's a sin unto death. I do not say that he shall pray for it. Let's see what it says in another translation. If you see, look what the NLT, it says, if you see a Christian brother or sister sinning in a way that does not lead to death, you should pray. So if that sin isn't a sin of death, which is homosexuality, adultery, what else? What else is sin unto death? Oh, yeah, John blinks.
Sin unto death.
Yeah,
Disrespecting your parents.
that's a
When
sin unto death.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, after a
After a
while.
while,
Yeah,
after a while, yeah.
yeah. Because you got to bring them to a
You got to
church.
bring them to right, and then
Mm,
right, and so that's still a sin unto death if they continue to be disobedient.
Damn, you see that? And it says don't pray for that. And it says you should pray. That does not lead to death. You should pray, and God will give that person life. But there is a sin that leads to death, and I'm not saying you should pray for those who commit it. So there's different weights, bro. You can't even pray for that person. That's sinning. That's just a wicked spirit. The what is it? The wicked are made for destruction, and they're right there with it.
You read the you ever read the NKJV version? That's
It's good.
pretty valid, yeah. Let me read it. If anyone sees his brother sinning a sin which does not lead to death, he will ask, and he will give him life for those who commit sin not leading to death. There is a sin leading to death. I do not say that he should pray about it. About that.
How about that? It is what it is, bro.
Yeah.
All right, so that's that section. Don't ever let them tell you that you break one sin, you break them all.
uh,
Just don't
That's actually a good breakdown right there.
don't don't let them, bro. Just don't let them. You're gonna tell me stealing something. I don't want to say me, but somebody stealing something and somebody being a pedophile holds the same weight. Somebody's a
Right. Like,
rapist.
what if someone's stealing because they're hungry and they need to
The
steal some food?
what does the Bible say about that?
Right.
It says to leave them alone.
Right.
The Bible says if somebody's stealing because they're hungry, leave them alone. The
Right.
Bible, because you can pay that back. He might put him back on his feet one day. He'll pay you back for it.
But you're gonna say that that person is gonna get the same judgment if someone else murdered someone?
Look at this. If you steal something, there's a law that says you have to give that
Right.
back plus the
The
20%.
20%. Con.
So you don't die if you steal.
Con.
So no, man, don't tell these people are crazy, bro. They done. They're done with this.
Anything to not do the laws that God gave us.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's where they draw.
So
They love God, but doing what God wants, that's where they draw the line.
they want to be able to love him from afar, right?
Right. Right.
But that's don't let them ever if they use that on you. If they try to trick you into doing that so you don't keep the laws to justify why they don't keep the laws, start bringing out the most extreme laws, bro. That's like you gotta do. But let's jump to Galatians 6:2.
Con. Con.
Got a few more and then we'll close out.
Con. So we got the Galatians, the letter to the Galatians, chapter 6 and verse 2. Bear ye one's bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ.
So what they'll tell you that the law of Christ is the two main commandments, or they say it's the moral section of the Mosaic law. They say all that other stuff, the sacrifices, the tithes. I mean, not the tithes. They love that. The animal sacrifices, the certain meats, clean and unclean. They say that is done away with.
They
But
even
moral.
even the newer churches with the homosexuality, or
Mhm.
it's just, to even
Well,
take it that far.
I was doing Lyft, bro, and I'm just you'll hear me like ranting and just arguing by myself like an old man every time I see a damn flag, rainbow flag on a church.
Man, if
A lot.
right over here in my city, in the on one street, there's like three churches, and all three of them has the flags right on.
The
It's
why trimmest thou thy ways to seek love? Because I'm telling you, those people don't believe that you can be a homosexual. A lot of the times, those churches are just doing that to bring people in to fill the seats. If their seats are filled, there's more likely money coming in. They're
this.
trimming the ways to seek love.
I've also seen, that's true. That's true. I've also seen some, on Facebook they have like people, you know, they- but I've seen like actual priests in that lifestyle. Well, I don't say they're actually priests. They're just people in that lifestyle leading churches and leading
I think
people
I seen
astray.
that they wear like the black suit, but then they have like the rainbow
It's
thing around their neck, right?
I've actually seen that, and I actually seen like interviews of like, I don't like saying that word, but these people that they will say that they are right.
I'm about to get flagged. I can't put this on YouTube.
No, I didn't.
I'll
I
bleep
can
it
get
out. But
you said it, not me. That but they actually flamboyant. I think that's the better
mhm.
term. And they'll ask him like, man, it's just I can't even fathom how.
But I want you to think about this. Right? Around the time of the early church fathers, they were split, but not by such a large margin, right? They had control, but now that the, the, the commandment keepers, right? Now that the Israelites are waking little by little, the more we wake up and the more righteous we get, the more wicked they're gonna get. And it shows because they weren't doing all this wickedness a couple years ago. But it's just we're waking up and it's a split, it's a divide. So like it's like a grid. Remember like in geometry, how they had the thing, they had the negative and then the positive,
Calm.
or the negative and the positive. So it's like the further up we go to righteousness, the more wicked they're gonna get. They're like a parallel to
You
us,
said
right?
I'm
Our
thinking
mirror.
about I'm thinking about like the horizon when two lines go straight,
The
and
grid,
then
the grip, the graph paper.
right.
Yeah. So like the more righteous we get, the more wicked they're gonna get. There are parallel. There are negative. There are fucking I don't know negative counterparts. That's the only way to explain it.
Calm.
But let's what was that? Galatians 6:2. So they'll say the law of Christ. They don't have to keep the law of Moses anymore. They have to keep the law of Christ. Let's go to Matthew 4:4.
Calm. Book
Once
of
I
Saint
start talking,
Matthew.
I go on my rant. I gotta start doing that.
I mean, it's still on topic, but the book of
Yeah,
Saint Matthew, chapter 4 and verse 4. But he answered and said, "It is written, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God."
that's the law of Christ. He said, "You don't do what a man says. Do what the Most High says.
That's right.
Don't focus on your flesh, which is bread alone, survivability, but follow the law. Have faith in the Most High. Have faith in Yhwhshi. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So that's the law of Christ. Let me see if I get something else. Go to Matthew 19:16 because we're gonna talk about the law of Christ, right?
Saint Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 16. It reads, "And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life?
Read.
And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
People, these people are weird, bro. The Bible's so straightforward. The Most High is not the author of confusion. He does everything simply, and if he puts things in dark parables, it's meant for the prophets, so they can get it, because it's not meant for everybody to understand it. But the commandments, they're in your face. Prophecy may come in dark parables, right? Yeah, parables, dark speeches. But the commandments, bro, this is they're in your face. You Like, I'm an Israelite. I believe in the 12 tribes chart. I believe in the majority of one West doctrine. Right? There are things that I would see why you would debate it. But the law and having to keep the law is one thing I've never ever, even when I was a Christian, the Mosaic law had to be kept always. It's not debatable. Prophecies, I get it. Who's Gog? Who's Magog? Who's Babylon? You can debate that. It's dark sentences, dark phrases. It's hard. It's not meant for everybody to understand. 12 tribes chart. It's a little rough, because we learned the Bering Strait. We learned all that stuff. We learned the German um, thing of race, their mindset of what race is. It's hard to get rid of, right? But the laws, bro, like the whole book says that the Israelites need to keep the laws. It's not debatable.
Huh.
Let's go to Matthew 23 and now we read that one. I'm not doing that. Yeah, so that's that, right? And then and Yhwhshi in Matthew 23 and 2, he says, do what the Pharisees say, don't do what they do.
That's right.
They teach the Mosaic law. That's
Right.
his law is for you to keep the Mosaic law.
They taught us. I mean, at some point, do as I. What is it? Do as I say. What? How is it? Do as I say, not as I do.
They said that?
No, I'm saying you people used to say when I was growing up
Hmm.
that was a bad thing. You do as if you're gonna if you're gonna tell somebody, make sure you're doing it yourself. But
Yeah. And that goes into the take the mold out of your eye first before you start trying to condemn other people.
right,
Make sure you
but
right before you start judging.
at the same time, like yeah, I wish I said, if the Pharisees are teaching, do as they say, but don't do as they do.
Exactly. Man, the modern church is done, bro. They done.
Don't do what the modern church is telling you to do, because
Mhm. What I will say, because we do bash the modern church a lot. A lot of them have the zeal. They want to love God properly. They want to do it. They just being led astray. And those pastors, those Pharisees, it's gonna be worse than tying a stone around their neck and throwing in the ocean, because they're leading a lot of these people astray that really want to know the word of God. And whenever they go to the congregation and they ask him a question like, "Oh, but this says this," they're gonna go on a rant. They're gonna go on a diatribe and keep that brother or sister, that elder or that youngin in chains. So a lot of times it's really the leaders. It's not really the church goers and stuff.
you're
But
right.
then again, that's the will of the Most High. We'll see them around on the next run. So this is the last one I got. If you have, after we do this, if you have one that you want to break down, just let me know. Or if you want to talk about something, just let me know. Ephesians 2:8.
We got the letters to the Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse 8. It reads, "For by grace are ye saved through faith, and not that of yourselves. It is the gift of God, Mm. not of
So not
works, lest
like,
any man should boast. There you go.
boast.
Boast, Salakia.
You good.
Lest any man shall boast, should boast.
So that's the holier than thou. That was the Pharisees. That was the scribes. They were just they thought that they were doing it well. They weren't doing it right because they lacked the weightier matters of the law. Me coming into the truth, and I would assume for brother Parah, coming into the truth was a gift, bro. How I came into it, it was crazy. I thought I was gonna be wicked for the rest of my life and think I was doing all right. It's a gift of God. He chooses you. Says no man. What Christ says, no man coming to me unless the Father calls him. It's a gift, all
That's
right?
right. I agree.
But let's prove this right now. Go to Ephesians. Actually, read the next one.
God. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus, or Hamashiach Yahweh, unto good works, which good which Yahweh have before ordained that we should walk in them.
So we have to walk. We have to walk in the ordinances. Whatever God hath ordained, we have to walk in them. Bro, and it's just I know why Yhwhshi had gray hair, man, at such an early age. I'm 33 years old right now, bro. That's the age Yhwhshi. He had a white afro, and I see it, man. These people are just hard headed, stiff necked. I can see what Moses went through.
Done.
It's tough, bro. But that's all I got. You got anything?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so
I don't want to taint such a great lesson. Now, if I have one though,
I mean, I try, bro. I'm not the best speaker, but I do what I can do.
God,
All
you're
right,
good.
so I'm gonna close out. You wanna close out?
You good? You good?
You sure?
You're gonna have to edit this part out though.
Hey, what part?
This part right here. So like the closing out, like I always
Close out. Close out. Bro. Say your piece. Give all praise.
I gotta. That's the part I see. Like you said, everybody has the spiel. You know what I mean?
The
The,
split, the
the
tripping of the tongue.
yeah.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time.
I gotta learn. Like you know how they say but with that we leave you.
So you
Yeah.
just go, and with that, we give call halal Yahweh by Shem HaMashiach Yahweh. That's all honor, all praises, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And then you want to Barak Yasharala, Barak Lowell,
Mawala
Barak
Babo.
Massachusetts, Mawaf Lababo, Kwam Yasharala,
Kwam
whatever
Yashara.
you want to season it with.
God.
And then that's that.
All
But it
right.
was a good lesson to water.
No worries, man. Thanks for
Shalom.
inviting me. Shalom.